Ladies, let me tell you something today because I know some of y'all are dealing with this exact problem right now. You've been texting a man, calling a man, checking up on a man, and suddenly he goes silent. No response, no call back, no explanation. He's ignoring you, and you're sitting there with your phone in your hand asking yourself, what did I do wrong? Did I say too much? Did I move too fast? Did I push him away? And I'm here to tell you, stop asking yourself those questions because you ain't the problem. When a man ignores you, it's not because you don't have value. It's because he thinks his ego is big enough to control the situation. See, men got this thing called pride. Pride will make a man act a fool. Pride will have him playing games like he's too busy, too important, or too desired to respond to a woman he knows is good for him. But here's the trick, ladies. The worst thing you can do to a man who ignores you is not cry, not chase, not explain. The worst thing you can do to his ego is nothing. Silence. That's the destroyer of pride right there. Now, I know some of you are thinking, Steve, that's hard. I love him. I care about him. I want to know why he's pulling away. But let me tell you something. If a man wants you, he won't ignore you. If he values you, he won't risk losing you. And if he's sitting back ignoring you like he got all day to play these little games, that means he thinks you're going to be right there when he gets done. That's where you flip the script. See, when you stop calling, when you stop texting, when you stop explaining, suddenly he's not in control anymore. His ego is going to start whispering in his ear, hey, wait a minute. Why she ain't chasing me? Why she ain't blowing up my phone? Why she acting like she don't need me? That's the bruise to his ego right there. Men don't like to feel replaceable. Men don't like to feel like they've lost their power. And when you ignore him back, when you rise up and focus on yourself, he realizes quick that ignoring you was the dumbest decision he could have made. Let me break this down for you. A man's ego is like a balloon. The more you call, the more you text, the more you check up on him, the more air you pump into that balloon. It gets bigger and bigger. He starts walking around like he's the king of the world because he knows no matter what he does, you'll be there. But if you stop giving him that air, what happens to a balloon? It deflates. That's exactly what you do to his ego when you stop feeding it. You don't yell, you don't beg, you don't cry. You just stop, and it kills him inside because now he's asking himself questions he don't like. And ladies, let me be real with you. Sometimes you got to remind a man who you are without ever saying a word. You walk out that door looking good, smiling, living your life, focused on your goals, and while he's sitting there wondering if you're still thinking about him, you're showing him you don't need him to shine. That glow up, that confidence, that peace of mind, that right there is what destroys a man's ego, because he thought you were going to sit around waiting on him. But instead you showed him you got options. You got purpose and you got power. Now, don't confuse this with playing games. I ain't telling you to get revenge or try to make him jealous on purpose. That's petty. What I'm telling you is to recognize your own value and act accordingly. When a man ignores you, he's betting on the fact that you'll come chasing after him. When you don't, when you put yourself first, you teach him the greatest lesson he'll ever learn. That your time, your love, and your energy are too valuable to be overlooked. That's when he comes running back. That's when he starts blowing up your phone. That's when he starts talking about, hey, I've been busy, or hey, I was just going through something. No, he wasn't too busy. No, he wasn't lost in his problems. He just thought he could play with your emotions and you'd let him get away with it. But when you starve that ego, when you cut off that supply, he realizes real quick you ain't the type of woman he can take for granted. Ladies, men are simple. We like control, we like attention, and we like to feel like the prize. But the truth is, the prize is you. You're the one holding the value. You're the one bringing the love, the support, the loyalty, the beauty, the power. And when you stop handing that over for free, when you stop pouring into a man who's ignoring you, that's when he realizes just how much he stands to lose. That's the destruction of his ego. Not by screaming, not by fighting, but by living. I want you to think about this. You're a diamond. Do you ever see a diamond chasing people down the street saying, hey, pick me, I'm valuable? No, a diamond sits still, shines bright, and people line up to get it. That's exactly how you need to carry yourself. When a man ignores you, don't move, don't chase. Just shine. because eventually he's going to come back realizing he passed up a treasure while chasing after rocks. And by the time he comes back, you'll be standing so tall in your worth, you'll have the power to decide if he even deserves another chance. And let me tell you, sometimes destroying a man's ego isn't even about getting him back. Sometimes it's about you moving on so strong, so confidently, that he has to sit with the fact that he lost you. That pain right there, that regret, that's worse than anything you could ever say. Because the truth is, silence is louder than words. Your absence is stronger than your presence when you pull it away from someone who thought he had you wrapped around his finger. And that's when the game flips. And that's how you destroy his ego without ever lifting a finger. Ladies, let me tell you something from a man's perspective, because I don't sugarcoat nothing. When a man ignores you, 9 times out of 10, it ain't because he's too busy. Don't let him fool you with that line. Nobody is too busy to text back. Nobody is too busy to pick up the phone for 30 seconds. When a man ignores you, it's because he's making a choice. Either he's testing you, trying to see how much of yourself you'll give without him giving anything back, or he's just arrogant enough to believe he can treat you however he wants and you'll still be there. That's the reality. And that's why I tell women, stop giving a man discounts on your value. You don't go to a Bentley dealership and see buy one, get one free. No, a Bentley is a Bentley. And if you want it, you pay full price. That's how you got to think about yourself. If a man ignores you, you don't lower the price, you raise it. You show him you're too valuable to be ignored. Now let me explain something about the male ego. A man's ego is fragile, but it's also loud. We like to walk around like we got it all together. We like to act like we don't need anybody. But the truth is, the moment a woman who used to give us attention suddenly stops, it rattles us to the core. Because attention is like fuel. When a man knows you're thinking about him, chasing him, waiting on him, that fuels his pride. But when you stop, that tank runs empty real quick. He starts to feel powerless. And that's the thing men hate most, losing power. So if you want to destroy his ego when he ignores you, the answer is simple: take back your power. Don't sit there waiting. Don't beg for explanations. Don't be the one carrying the whole relationship on your back. You pull back and let him wonder. I remember telling a group of women once, stop letting a man be the DJ of your emotions. You know how a DJ controls the music, controls the vibe, makes the crowd dance when he wants? That's what some of y'all are letting men do with your feelings. He ignores you, you feel down. He texts you, you feel up. He calls you baby, you smile. He goes silent, you're back crying. No, stop letting him spin the record. You take the music back, you control your own vibe. And when you do that, he loses control over you. And that's when his ego gets destroyed. Because his power came from knowing he could control how you feel. Here's something else you need to understand. When a man ignores you, he expects a reaction. He expects anger, tears, begging, maybe even drama. Because those things still give him attention. He knows he still matters enough to stir you up. But when you give him nothing, when you don't react, oh, that drives him crazy. That's like putting a mirror in front of his face and saying, you ain't as important as you thought. And trust me, that's what hurts the male ego the most. Let me give you an example. I had a buddy once who thought he was slick. He had a woman who loved him, checked on him, gave him everything he needed. But he got arrogant. He started ignoring her calls, started acting like he had better things to do. You know what she did? She didn't blow up his phone. She didn't beg. She just stopped calling. She started going out, looking good, focusing on her career, living her life. Man, let me tell you, he couldn't handle it. He was calling me talking about, man, I don't know what's going on. She used to blow up my phone. Now she acting like I don't exist. I said, nah, brother, she just woke up to her worth. She stopped feeding your ego. And let me tell you, he was sick because for the first time, he realized he wasn't the one with the power. She was. And that's the lesson. Your silence is sometimes louder than your words. Now, some of y'all need to hear this part. Don't confuse ignoring him back with punishing yourself. You ain't losing nothing by cutting off a man who's already ignoring you. If anything, you're saving your energy. Because what sense does it make to chase after somebody who already decided you don't deserve their time? You got to flip that energy back into yourself. Spend that time learning something new, building your career, hitting the gym, hanging with friends, traveling, whatever makes you feel alive. That glow up is the destruction of his ego. Because while he thought you'd be sitting in the dark crying, you out here shining brighter than ever. And trust me, nothing breaks a man's pride like seeing the woman he ignored becoming the best version of herself without him. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes when a man ignores you, it's a blessing in disguise, because what he's really showing you is his character. If he can ignore you today, he can disrespect you tomorrow. If he can ignore your calls now, he can ignore your needs later. If he can play with your time, he can play with your heart. That's who he is. And the quicker you accept that, the quicker you stop wasting your time trying to make him into something he's not. And the moment you walk away from that kind of man with your head held high, his ego crumbles because he expected you to tolerate it, but instead you elevated. And let me make this real clear. Ignoring a man back is not about lowering yourself to his level. It's about protecting your dignity. You ain't ignoring him to hurt him. You're ignoring him because you refuse to hurt yourself. That's the difference. It's self-respect, not revenge. And that's what makes it so powerful. Because when a man sees that you're unbothered, that you're not out here playing games, that you're just standing strong in your worth, that's when he starts realizing what he lost. That's when he sits alone thinking, man, I had something special and I let it go. And that thought will eat at him more than anything you could ever say. See, ladies, the secret is simple. Men don't chase women who chase them. Men chase women who set standards. Men respect what they can't control. Men value what they can't manipulate. And when you pull your attention away, you put yourself in that category. You move from being another option to being the one he regrets losing. That regret, that's the crack in his ego. That's the moment he realizes ignoring you was never a smart move. And don't think for 1 second that men don't notice when you stop feeding them attention. Oh, we notice. We might act like we don't care, but trust me, it eats at us. We start checking your social media, seeing what you're up to, wondering if you've moved on. We start texting little things like, hey, how you been? Just to see if the door is still open. That's the ego trying to sneak back in. And at that point, the choice is yours. But the point is you already won. Because you showed him you can't be ignored, you can't be played, and you sure as hell can't be taken for granted. That's the ultimate destruction of his ego. Not by words, but by action. Ladies, let me tell you something right now, because this one hits home for a lot of women. When a man ignores you, it feels like rejection, it feels like disrespect, it feels like you're invisible. And because women are natural nurturers, the first thing you do is turn inward. You start asking yourself, did I do something wrong? Did I say too much? Am I not enough? But here's the truth. You are enough. You've always been enough. The problem ain't you. The problem is a man's ego. See, a man's ego will convince him that ignoring you makes him look powerful. It will convince him that pulling back gives him the upper hand. But the truth is, when you know who you are and what you bring to the table, his little disappearing act is the biggest mistake of his life. Now let's break this down from the male perspective. Men like attention. It's fuel for us. It strokes our pride, makes us feel like we're the center of your world. When a man ignores you, it's not because he doesn't notice you, it's because he thinks he's so valuable that you'll still chase him anyway. That's the trick his ego plays on him. He thinks, she's going to text me again, she's going to call, she's going to ask what's wrong. And the moment you do that, you confirm his belief that he's got you under control. But when you don't, when you stay silent, stay calm, and live your life like his absence doesn't even matter, that's when the ego takes the biggest hit, because suddenly he's not in control anymore, you are. You want to know how to destroy a man's ego when he ignores you. You do it by refusing to validate him. You do it by showing him you're not the type of woman who needs to beg for love, chase after attention, or tolerate disrespect. You let your silence be the answer. And silence, ladies, is powerful. Silence makes a man question himself. Silence makes a man wonder if he lost something he can't replace. Silence makes his pride crumble because his ego was expecting drama, and instead it got peace. Nothing eats at a man's ego like realizing he doesn't matter as much as he thought. Let me give you a story. I know a woman who was dating this man, and in the beginning he was all in. Calls, texts, flowers, the whole 9 yards. Then one day, out of nowhere, he started pulling back. He stopped calling as much, took forever to respond, and acted like she was asking too much just by wanting communication. You know what she did? She didn't argue, didn't nag, didn't blow his phone up. She just matched his energy. She stopped calling, stopped checking in, and started focusing on herself. She went back to school, hit the gym, spent time with her girls, and built her life back up. And let me tell you, within a few weeks, that man was back blowing up her phone, asking where she was, asking why she wasn't chasing him anymore. He couldn't handle it because his ego wasn't ready for her to stop feeding it. That's the power of taking back your energy. See, the thing about men is we're hunters by nature. We chase what we want. We pursue what we value. But when a man thinks you're going to do all the chasing, he gets lazy. He thinks he doesn't have to try. And that's where the ignoring comes in, because he's betting on the fact that you'll keep showing up no matter what he does. But the moment you stop showing up, the moment you pull back, his ego takes the hit. Suddenly he realizes he's not the one being chased anymore. Suddenly he realizes you're the prize, not him. And that shift right there, that's what destroys him. Now, don't get me wrong. Ignoring him back doesn't mean you're bitter or cold. It doesn't mean you hate him. It just means you respect yourself enough to stop pouring into someone who ain't pouring back. You can't keep watering a plant that refuses to grow. And that's what some of you are doing. Wasting your love, your time, your energy on men who think ignoring you is a form of power. But the truth is, power belongs to the person who can walk away. Power belongs to the person who knows their worth. And when you walk in that power, when you decide you won't chase someone who doesn't see you, you not only destroy his ego, you elevate yourself. Let me keep it real, a man can't handle being replaced. That's the ultimate bruise to his pride. When he sees you out there living, smiling, glowing, and maybe even moving on, that eats him alive, because men are territorial. Even when we don't want you, our ego doesn't want anybody else to have you. That's why ignoring him back is so effective, because while he's out there thinking he can play games, you're showing him you can play life without him. And trust me, nothing hurts worse than that. Some women think they have to teach a man a lesson by arguing, by explaining, by trying to get him to understand. But listen, you don't have to teach a grown man how to treat you. If he doesn't know by now, your silence will be the best teacher. When you stop giving him the attention he took for granted, that lesson hits harder than any words could. And the beauty of it is, you don't lose a thing in the process. You gain peace, self-respect, and clarity. He loses comfort, validation, and control. And that's how the ego gets destroyed. Ladies, let me give you some truth right here. When a man ignores you, it's not about you. It's about him. Maybe he's insecure. Maybe he's selfish. Maybe he's just not ready to be the man you need. But whatever the case, it's not your job to fix it. Your job is to protect your peace and your value. Because the moment you start begging a man to see you, you've already handed over your power. And when you give a man that kind of power, he'll use it every time. But when you keep your power, when you hold your head up and refuse to be treated like you're invisible, that's when you win. And here's the kicker. When you stop chasing, a funny thing happens. Either the man steps up because he realizes he's about to lose something real, or he disappears completely. And either way, you win. If he steps up, it's because he finally understood your value. If he disappears, it's because he was never the man for you anyway. And in both cases, his ego takes the hit because he didn't get what he expected. He expected a woman who would stay no matter what. What he got was a woman who knows her worth. And that's the kind of woman a man never forgets. So, if a man ignores you, don't let it break you. Let it build you. Don't let it make you feel small. Let it remind you how big you really are. Because when you stop giving your time, your attention, and your energy to someone who doesn't deserve it, you're not just destroying his ego, you're protecting your soul. And that, ladies, is the most powerful move you can make. Ladies, if a man is ignoring you, let me tell you something. The best payback isn't anger. It's not begging, and it's not trying to force him to see your worth. The best payback is living like his absence doesn't matter. Men run on ego. That ego wants to feel like it's the sun and you're just the planet orbiting around it. He wants to believe that no matter how much he pulls back, you'll still be there waiting, revolving around his life. But when you step out of that orbit, when you decide you shine on your own, his whole ego comes crashing down. See, men ignore women because they think it puts them in control. It's a silent game. He pulls back to see how much you'll chase. He goes quiet to see if you'll get loud. He wants to know if you'll lose yourself trying to win him. And as long as you do, his ego stays fat and happy. But the second you don't, the second you stop giving energy where it's not being matched, that's when the game flips. Because the truth is, a man can't handle being ignored the way a woman can. Women have patience, resilience, inner strength. Men, our pride doesn't like it. We can dish it out, but when it comes back to us, it cuts deep. I'll give you an example. I had a cousin who thought he was smooth. He was dating this beautiful woman, but he got cocky. He started ignoring her calls, leaving her on read, taking hours to reply to a simple text. She didn't argue. She didn't blow up his phone. She just went quiet and started focusing on herself. Man, it tore him up. After a week, he was calling everybody, asking if they'd seen her, checking her social media, trying to figure out if she was with someone else. That woman didn't have to say a single word. Her silence destroyed his ego. And the funny part, she wasn't even trying to get revenge. She was just living her life, minding her business, refusing to be treated like she was disposable. That's the power you hold when you stop chasing and start choosing yourself. Now let me explain why ignoring him back works so well. A man's ego is like a mirror. He wants to see his reflection in your attention. Every text you send, every call you make, every tear you shed, it tells him he still matters. But when the mirror goes blank, when he looks and doesn't see himself in your world anymore, that shakes him to his core. Because men need to feel needed. We need to feel wanted. And when you show him you don't need him to live, breathe, or smile, that realization hits harder than anything you could ever say. And ladies, don't confuse this with playing games. You're not ignoring him to manipulate. You're ignoring him because you love yourself enough not to pour into somebody who's ignoring you. That's not a game. That's self-respect. And when you walk in that, when you stand tall in your worth, you're not just destroying his ego, you're protecting your heart. Because the truth is, if a man can ignore you, he doesn't value you the way he should. And once you see that, once you accept that, the best move you can make is to stop giving him the very thing he takes for granted, your attention. Think about it this way. If you went to a restaurant and ordered food and they brought you an empty plate, would you keep going back to that same restaurant every night hoping they'll finally feed you? No, you'd leave. You'd find a place that actually serves what you paid for. That's how you got to treat relationships. If a man is ignoring you, he's not feeding your soul. He's starving you of attention, affection, and respect. So why keep showing up? Why keep begging for scraps? Walk out and let him sit in that empty restaurant alone. That's how you destroy his ego, by refusing to settle for less than what you deserve. Here's another truth. Men always notice when you stop caring. Don't let them fool you. They may act like they're too busy, too focused, too distracted to care, but the moment you go quiet, their radar goes up. They'll start asking mutual friends about you, start lurking on your socials, start sending those little, "Hey, stranger" texts. That's not love. That's ego panic. That's him realizing the woman who used to pour into him ain't there anymore. And that fear of being replaced, that realization that he lost control, that's what crushes his pride. And I need to say this because some of you need to hear it. Don't let a man ignoring you trick you into lowering your standards. Don't be so desperate for his attention that you accept being treated like an afterthought. If he's ignoring you today, what's he going to do tomorrow when life gets tough? If he can't give you consistency in the simple things, how's he going to stand with you in the storms? Ignoring is just the surface. It's a red flag for something deeper, lack of respect. And once you see that, the strongest thing you can do is walk away with your dignity intact. That walk away, that silent, that's the nuke to his ego. Let me be real here. A man may not admit it, but the hardest pill for him to swallow is losing access to a woman who leveled him up. A woman who gave him peace, love, laughter, and support. When you pull that away, when you stop being his safe place because he chose to ignore you, he feels the loss. He may cover it up with arrogance. He may act like he doesn't care, but behind closed doors, he's thinking about it. Men don't forget the women who walked away with grace. We remember the ones who didn't chase, the ones who didn't cry at our feet, the ones who just said with their actions, "I know my worth." That memory haunts us. That's why I say silence is louder than any speech you could give. And if you're worried about him moving on quickly, let me tell you something. Let him. Because 9 times out of 10, when a man runs to somebody else right after ignoring you, he's not running to love, he's running to his ego. He needs someone to refill the validation he lost when you stopped feeding him. But guess what? That never lasts, because the next woman won't be you. She won't bring what you bring. And when he realizes that, when he sits in that emptiness, that's when his ego truly collapses. Not because you punished him, but because you showed him with your actions that you're irreplaceable. So, when a man ignores you, don't lower yourself. Don't fight for his attention. Don't let his silence steal your joy. Instead, shift the spotlight back on yourself. Work on your dreams. Take care of your body. Nurture your soul. Show him and yourself that your life doesn't pause because of his absence. That's how you flip the script. That's how you destroy his ego without ever raising your voice. Because nothing is more powerful than a woman who realizes she was the prize all along.